welcome to Verst Starup. Our office is on the fourth floor, but we got this room for the sake of the presentation. Regards from our CEO, Brian. He was not able to make it, but we're in safe hands. Welcome once again. I think you can just, the Verst Starup team can just stand up so we get a feel of the people behind the magic. These are some of our team members. The rest are in other places doing things, but you're very much welcome. You'll be taken through a series of presentations here. I think you're in safe hands. To start us off, I'll invite Charles, our head of carbon project development. Rude of me, but I am Anthony. I lead the innovation team here, and you're very much welcome. Charles.
Thank you. Jambo Kenya.
Asante.
So Jambo is simply saying, like, hello, how are you? Okay. I trust the Nairobi weather is treating you well. First and foremost, I think we can say thank you to Flavor and the Climate Network for organizing today's events. I hope you've seen interesting things across the Nairobi and more to come, of course. So, quick story. 2021, three gentlemen are sitting thinking of what can we do with ourselves. Young men, okay, in their late 20s. Just trying to think, we have studied mathematics, actual science, and whatnot. What can we do together? We think of advisory services. Like any young person, you're very well technically endowed with information. You're just trying to ask yourself, how can we make a living and at the same time, of course, serve the community you're trying to support? So a number of ideas are thrown around, blockchain and whatnot. But luckily enough, one particular gentleman manages to build certain relationships with different people speaking to the areas of blockchain. Coincidentally, that particular institution has been tinkering around the areas of blockchain, what can we do, especially in the space of climate. Okay? We then get into a contract with GIA, the Global Energy Alliance for Planet, to try and see what can blockchain do in the areas of climate, artificial intelligence, machine learning. This is 2021. I know right now you say, that is also, no, this is 2020. Okay? Fast forward, part of the contract was how can you use blockchain to track what you call carbon credits. Okay? And like the advisors we were, we gave our submissions. Upon making the submissions, one remark went to the room. It's always easy for consultants, advisors to give advice, right? But it is where they draw the line. They never want to actually start developing some of the solutions they have. You know what? The three gentlemen say, we will take that up. Fast forward to Sharm el-Sheikh COP in Egypt 2022, Verst Starup is born, where we say we are going to leverage specific climate technologies to just see what can we do for the ecosystem we are trying to represent. It's not just Kenya, remember, it is about Africa. Climate change has impacted Kenya and a lot of other countries in Africa, and we're just asking ourselves, is there a way in which some of these technologies we've been tinkering around and helping to solve some problems? Overall, our vision was very clear. Besides the bottom line, is how can we improve the socioeconomic status of the communities we're living in, from Kenya across the continent. Fast forward, we then said, okay, we can start looking at possible ways in which we can provide advisory services. Find companies who are simply looking to put their heads around climate change, but at the same time, meet a specific goal. But then we realized that when you're looking at advisory services, some of the things we are communicating with the communities, they don't understand the technologies, they don't understand the processes. So we said, for us to ensure that we can uplift the lives and livelihoods of the people in our communities, we must first of all impart them some knowledge. Okay? Capacity building is one of our core pillars to make sure, because I can't start talking about unlocking carbon market potential if you don't know what carbon credit is. If you don't know how you're getting credits from nature-based projects. Okay? So capacity building is a core thing for us. And once the community understands what capacity, the carbon technology you're talking about, carbon markets, we can start talking about the possible carbon projects. And remember, you can never start a company looking at carbon. Let no one lie to you. You can never start a business and say, I'm doing a carbon business. No. You must start with a mitigation activity. It could be giving guys cookstoves, it could be tree planting, it could be electric mobility. The carbon comes afterwards, when you're just trying to add value to ecosystem. Okay? But then we realized some of these things can be made easier with technology. Today, if I want to go and study the number of trees planted in 100,000 hectares in the Congo Basin, well, I have to recruit a couple of people, maybe 1,000 people to do the ground truthing. Alternatively, I can learn on certain technology and just see the difference between 5 years ago and now. So climate technology is something we are very keen. We started 3 people, now we're about close to 20 people, and we've been able to do a number of things. If you're looking at, for example, the areas of carbon development here in Kenya, where we are based in, and remember, it's not about Kenya, it's about Africa. We are doing a number of projects across the ecosystem. Our largest project is supporting the government of Kenya in transitioning schools from the use of freestone for cooking into a low carbon technology. It could be steam with LPG, it could be steam with electricity, it could be steam with something else. We are very keen on that. Also, across the border in Uganda, Mandulis Energy. What do? They collect farmers, take it through a process, never mind the process, and create biochar. And we know what biochar can do besides carbon. It improves the soil. For us, it's very important to make sure we're improving the lives and livelihoods. We have a number of other projects. You go down to Zimbabwe, we're working with the Horticultural Development Council to just try and support the large-scale farmers in improving the ecosystem. FCBO again in Uganda, we are supporting companies in doing agroforestry and biochar projects. But remember, for us to be able to deliver projects, we must make sure we're giving advice to people, such as yourselves. Where can you put your money? We did something recently last year, but one with EED advisory, whereby a will-be investor want to put in some money to a project developer. Allow me for the NDAs, okay? But we assisted them in seeing how, to what extent will the carbon credits being generated be used to pay back the investment from the particular investment firm, okay? So we provide advisory services in terms of due diligence. Last year, we did something with CLASP. They are very big in areas of solar PUA, that is productive solar appliances. How can carbon credits be used to scale the likes of sun culture, ag-sol, and the rest? Can we really get enough carbon credits from that? We are doing some in the Rockefeller Foundation in the areas of clean cooking as well, and GSMA. I know you know them in the areas of mobile technology, right? But GSMA sent us to Liberia to help companies scope out voucher opportunities. It's called JPAM Liberia. Beyond advisory services, as I mentioned, capacity building. Those of you into e-mobility, you'll be happy to hear that we have worked recently last year again with Siemens to build the capacity of 25 companies in just knowing what can they do with carbon credits, the likes of Rome, I'm sure you'll be seeing them, and the rest. What can you really do? To what extent can these carbon credits really help you? We have something we're working with the gold standard, just again to spearhead the capacity building. All in all for us to make sure we can develop projects, we must embed knowledge, give the best advice, but at the center of everything else, to improve the economies of scale, to make things a bit cheap, we come to climate technology. I'll want to talk about this, but it's better if you see this. And with that, I'll invite my colleague Mike to take us to the first area in what we are doing in the areas of innovation and technology. Please feel free to go to our website. It's verst.app. Otherwise, asanteni sana. That is, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you, Charles. I'm seeing so many beautiful faces today. So it's a pleasure having you all here. My name is Mike, and I'll be taking you through one of our frequently asked questions. How do I do a carbon project? I have trees in my compound, and I get carbon credits. So I'll take you through the journey for you to get a picture of what it really takes to get carbon credits. So what's on our agenda today? As I've mentioned, why carbon projects matter. So there's a bad taste with carbon in the global markets. So I'm here to demystify that. I'll take you through the carbon project journey from concept to carbon credits. And if you're an investor, I'll show you exactly where you plug into this pipeline. If you want us to develop your carbon project for you, this is where we get to partner. Yes. So I go to an important question. So why carbon projects matter? And one of the key things that I actually point out is climate risks are equal to business risks. Once you have calamities, it means your business stalls, it means you can't pay your people, it means you lose your property. Second thing is carbon reporting has started becoming mandatory. A good example is the EU. So now you're expected to report your emissions, yes? And the last one is Africa holds the key. As Charles mentioned, Africa in itself has the most carbon projects. We have the biggest communities. And that's why I say Africa holds the key. So in our next slide, this is basically the staircase we're going to take. If you're thinking of a carbon project, or if you have any project and you want to know exactly what needs to get carbon credits, this is the journey we're going to take. And for easy explanation, I have a project called Agro Samburu. It's located in Samburu County. It's actually a test project, just for explanation purposes. And first stage is project conception. So this is where you have an idea of your project. You probably have land with trees somewhere in Samburu, and we're calling it Agro Samburu. So come to us, we're going to assess your project. One thing is, with our platform, you'll get to onboard your project. This basically means we gather basic data about your project. Then we move to the second stage, stakeholder engagement. With projects, you'll come to realize you need to get community buy-in. You just don't start a project as a standalone. You need to go to the local authorities, get the proper licenses for this. Once we get past the stakeholder engagement stage, we move to the feasibility assessment. So we need to assess, is your project feasible? Technically, financially, environmentally, is this project really feasible? Once we check this off, as an investor, I believe you can come in at this point. So it means we've assessed the feasibility, we've done the financials, and if you're interested in supporting Agro Support, then feel free to join along. Yeah? Fourth stage is what we call the project design document. This is what I consider the blueprint of a carbon project. Think of it as the map of developing a carbon project. And this document, it's exactly what you need to apply to a registry. What's a registry? The best way to explain it is compare it to banks. Banks are the issuers of currency in the country. A registry issues carbon credits. So you need a document to say, we've done XYZ, this is our plan, and we want to get carbon credits. A good example is Vera, you might have heard of it somewhere. Another example is Gold Standard. Then we move to this other side, validation. As I mentioned, it's not a standalone project, you need to get audited. So we call in third-party verifiers, we call them VVBs, or validation and verification bodies. And these are the people who get to audit your project, your financials, your everything, the A to Z of your project. Then we get into monitoring. So this is where you get to monitor your project. You've already started implementation, you're collecting data. So in Agro Samburu, for instance, you've started planting more trees, you're hiring the community to actually nurture the trees and everything. Then we move to verification. I'm moving across this very fast, but I can tell you it takes, give or take, 1 to 5 years for such projects. So it's not a simple process. So in verification, we call the auditor again. We've developed the project for 1 full year. Come in, see if we are doing whatever we claimed. And once you get the stamp of approval, you go to the registry, as I mentioned, and with this audit report you're going to get, you can get carbon credits for your project. So there's a few nitty-gritties that are left out, but for simplicity's sake, this is the full life cycle of a carbon project. So again, I ask, do you think your trees in your compound can actually get you carbon credits? So, thank you. So the Verst Carbon platform, this is where we start and you assess it. It's a very complex process. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of documentation. How do we streamline this whole process? And the 3 key questions you're asking is, can you make this process a bit faster? Can you make it simpler? And can you make it transparent? So I'll hop onto the demo of the platform we got to build. And as I mentioned, project conception, come to us, this is where we get to gather the data. Initially, it's been a back and forth process. Talk to us, send your documents, we send them back to you. Very complicated. So with this, it means we gather details about your project. We get to gather the SDGs you're contributing to, among other details. Once you're done with this journey, it's a pretty long journey, I'll save you the time. We can get to what you get to see once you go to the project. Remember our case study, Agro Sample project. So I onboarded it for you to see exactly what we go through. So as I mentioned, it's a very lengthy process and it takes a long time. And for every milestone you're going to see here, we get to gather details of every specific milestone that you had. If you're the stakeholder engagement phase, you give us the stakeholder engagement report. Did you talk to the communities? Do you have licenses? Did you talk to the authorities? There's a catch here in the draft PDD. As I mentioned, the PDD is a project design document. It's a blueprint for a project. And what we're exploring at the moment is AI PDD. So we're trying to cut down the time and the cost of developing the PDD. It's a pretty expensive process because most of the people who do these things are not available locally. You have to fly them in, and it's a very costly process. Once we're done with this, there's people who are interested called investors. And you want to know, how do I plug into this pipeline? Can I get to see the documentation of the project? So this is where we have what we call the finance portal. So exactly what the finance portal does is we make you investor ready. Agrosamboro, give or take, let's say they never had capital to do XYZ. So the only way we can get to capture that is using this. We gather any authorities, we gather any documents that you need in terms of registrations. We get to gather your financials. We get to gather your pitch decks and everything. So this is where we do that. And once we go through this investor readiness, so we have a pretty intensive criteria. Once you're done with this, there's a few things you can choose. There's equity, debt, futures. So depending on the investor, you get to choose how do you want to fund such a project. Once you're done with this, we can move to the final bit. So with our Grosamburu project, we got it to carbon credits issued, and the platform, what you're going to see as a public-facing user is this. So this is what you see if you're not logged in, and you're going to see the project at Grosamburu. If it's seeking investment, you're going to see it's seeking investment here. If they've listed any credits, you're going to see the number of credits that have been listed. You can also see the price per carbon credit, among other things. And here we have a third-party rating section. So we call third-party auditors to audit the project and determine if it's a high-quality project. With that, you get a scale of how good your project is.
What certification is it?
Pardon?
What certification?
What's verification?
Is it gold standard?
Yes. So verification is actually, just go up. Okay, I think I can just answer it without the slides. So verification is basically, once you've monitored your project, we need to call an auditor to verify that we've done whatever we claim to do.
I'm asking about the type of carbon credits.
The type of carbon credits.
Yeah.
So it depends on the project, of course.
But, so for this one?
So for this, we are, Agrosamburu is a forestry project. So it means the credits you're going to get are going to be correlated to your project. In this case, it's a forestry project carbon credit that you're going to get. Yes.
Do you know which type of carbon credit was issued? Because there are different. Gold standard was one you mentioned before.
Oh, okay. So your question is tied to the registry, yes? So it depends on the registry that you applied, of course.
Right. So
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah. So if you took to gold standard, this was a case study project, just for demo purposes. But if we registered with gold standard, you're going to get a gold standard credit.
Right.
If it's fair, you're going to get a.
Okay, this is an example.
And with that, I'd like to mention something else. So we were able to pitch this to the government of Kenya. They loved our proposal and we got shortlisted to build the Kenya National Registry. So that's also pretty great news. And that's it for our $1 million platform. Thank you for your time, and I'll hand over to my colleague. Sorry?
Yeah, I've got a question. Do you have like your own methodology for like calculating like the emission reduction, or do you go through those third parties to calculate? How do you ensure that transparency and accuracy on the calculation of the?
Yes. So once a project is onboarded, we call them the carbon project development team. So it's their work to determine the methodology to use for your project, and it's very correlated to the registry that you want to apply to. So in that case, it means they'll get to assess your project, what methodology fits for the project type that you're having. That established, it means now we can call the auditors and they come and verify our project in this case. Yes. So I think I'll close it with that. If you have any further questions, we have QR codes on the side, on the back. Feel free to scan and drop your questions there. And if you want to follow me after this, feel free. My name is Mike again, and it's been a pleasure.
And she was sending an email. Yeah, I'm about to send you. Are you on WhatsApp? Yeah, that number's on WhatsApp.
Thank you, Mike. I'll try to be as succinct as possible because I know time is over on our side. So in the course of our work, we also, the Africa Carbon Markets Initiative also approached us. They said, hey, we're trying to mobilize governments African governments to set up the right policy frameworks to support the mobilization of carbon finance. But it's quite a costly process to go to do some of these efforts on the ground to activate the carbon markets. So they asked us, can we explore how different technologies can be applied to quantify the opportunity to be able to get policy makers to pay attention, at least set up the right policies to support the mobilization of climate finance. And so whatever I'm going to take you through is mainly that, how can carbon finance come in to support sustainable development on the continent, and our angle, at least us coming in, was what technologies can we apply in this process to be able to give an impression of the opportunity on the ground, to do an analysis of the policies, identify gaps and give recommendations, and 3, also identify all the active ecosystem players or stakeholders in each country. And so, on the first aspect, I think Mike alluded to it, we looked at how satellite imagery and GIS can be applied to be able to quantify the carbon opportunity. Maybe let's say for a project that's undeveloped, a forested area, can we be able to get different satellite spectrums to be able to discern the cover, the moisture content, and from the pixel values you can also be able to decrease, to calculate how much carbon sequestration or carbon will be captured by any area of land. And so this was the first module we delivered for the Africa Carbon Markets Initiative, basically leveraging satellite imagery to quantify the opportunity. Secondly, on the policy assessment, I don't know, some of you have probably used chatbots. With a bit of fine-tuning on the back end, they can be very, very effective at looking through policy documents, extensive policy documents, identify gaps, and give recommendations based on other best practices that have been benchmarked. You'll be able to see that in a view. And of course, thirdly, for the ecosystem, can be able to pull up all the data, because as of now, most carbon markets in most African countries are very disaggregated. So governments don't even have visibility on what's going on in the country, who's doing what. And so can we be able to pull all this data from all these registries, Vera, Gold Standard, Plan Vivo, put them all in one location so that governments have an effective view of whatever is going on within the ecosystem. And so those are the 3 aspects where we delivered. I think I'll just jump to the demo.